Good afternoon, everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Gulyás Bálint. I am the co-founder of MÁS Harquitectes and a doctoral student at the BME Doctoral School. In 2050, I moved to Barcelona. As a fourth-year architecture student, I felt I couldn't miss the opportunity to study abroad in a city that had everything I cared about: architecture, football, and seaside. 10 years ago, Barca frontline was Messi, Neymar, and Luis Suarez. This life was good. Also, RCR architects were at the top of their game. Barozzi Beiga just won the Mies van der Rohe Award, and more offices, unmistakably Catalan in their character, like Harquitectes, were appearing on the map one after the other. Harquitectes were a young, talented team with huge potential. However, along with many offices in the region, it wasn't obvious at that time who they would become today: pioneers of shaping the identity of Catalan architecture and culture. So there I was, a student still figuring out who I wanted to be as an architect, and then I came across the student dormitory at the Sant Cugat campus. It felt like coming home. Together with my future wife, we started tracking down the buildings designed by architects, and the more we discovered, the more we knew. This was the attitude, the ambition, and the architectural language we wanted to do and cultivate in Hungary as Hungarians. 10 years later, it's a great honor for me that this same naive architecture student has the chance to introduce the founder of one of the most important contemporary architectural practices in Europe, here at the Budapesti University of Technology. Please welcome Xavier Ros.
Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for your words. Thank you to invite us. It's a pleasure to be here for me because it's my first time here in Budapest, in Hungary also. It's amazing to see the hall full of people, so thank you. I try to learn some words like hello, goodbye, thank you in Hungarian, but I'm not allowed to do this effort. I just learned chia. Sia. Okay, I think it's going to be not very long, but not a short lecture, because I asked Balint for time and for the purpose of the lecture, and he told me that I can take my time, and I think that in general, or that's what I prefer when I listen somebody explaining their approach to architecture. I prefer to understand in deep what they are trying to communicate. So I tried not to be to go very slow, but yeah, I will start with a more conceptual items, and then I will move to some examples, and then I will try to explain our approach. I will not explain the whole project because you can read about it on our website or on some magazines. So I will try to focus on what is more specific in every project, divided in some themes. Well, it's never easy to explain how a project starts. Well, it usually starts in a commission, but at a certain moment, we as architects had to make a decision about with which material we are going to use. And you know, looking at these sculptors, and we are not sculptors, but we deal with material. The same sculptor, Eduardo Chillida, doing a big piece of a big block of stone, another with iron, and another made on concrete. So same sculptor using different materials, understanding the potential of each material. So using concrete, he can do this kind of cantilevers, he can decide the formwork, etc. So in architecture, I think that it is important to understand that the potential and the capacity of every material. And in our case, we are always trying to use for as much things as possible every material, trying to reduce the amount of elements that are ensembled together in a building. But as I said, we are not sculptors, so we are architects, so we need to clearly define in which way we are using the material. In this case, a column made of brick in this Vanderlam cloister. Of course, it's a column, so it has load-bearing capacity. It has a structural role. It's a way to separate and to connect the porch and the courtyard in the middle. But of course, it's not only about the behavior of this column. It's also about the relations and the proportions and everything around this single element. So we are dealing always with this idea of how to compose, how to ensemble, how to put everything together, creating spaces and these black walls and these black columns that are drawn in this picture. But later I will come back to this picture, because here there's black elements and there's white elements. White is for the space, black is for the walls and columns and the massive things. And of course, when we design a building, and this example is about the house, so a small house, if when you complete the work, the construction, the weight of the house, it's mostly the black part. It's related to the massive things, brick, concrete, etc. The triangle on top, the gray one, it's about air and water. So this is the proportion. That's why architects are mostly focusing on the black parts of the matter. But after 50 years, if we weight again the weight of all the different materials, I mean massive and fluid, the draw is the opposite. So the smallest part of this drawing is black on the bottom, and this is the weight of the massive elements. And the rest, I mean 95%, it's air mostly, the part on top, and water. And this means that, of course, we design the black things, but the important things are the gray ones, because the gray is what creates the comfort, the feeling of space, etc. And coming back to this plan, of course, we design the black, but we are creating the white. And this idea of dealing with the white thing is what we are trying always to do, because this is the place where we are. We are not inside the walls. We are in the space, surrounded by walls, by windows, etc. So this is the important thing for us. And we mostly work in our place, so in Catalonia, around Barcelona. This is a Mediterranean area, probably you know. And we have sea, not like you, sorry. You have other things, but we have sea. And the climate conditions there have a lot of variation, but we live not in a permanent summer. Well, nowadays, unfortunately, it's a bit like that, but we have a lot of conditions, but we usually, and in our works, you can recognize always this duality of a massive, let's say, black and with just a few gaps, spaces like the rooms on the corner with just the door and a small window to have cross ventilation. And then in the middle, you can see this space of opportunity, super open, super connected to weather, just roofed with this like element that can be removed depending on the season. So this duality of spaces, the closed ones and the open ones that we can call spaces in between, are always in permanent dialogue in our works. And you can always recognize the more specific parts are usually this space in between that are very well connected with outdoor conditions. But we are designing the 21st century, and of course we love vernacular. We like and we feel a good connection with the heritage. So we respect a lot the tradition, not for this idea of let's say cultural value in terms of nation in a way. It's more about knowledge heritage. So what arrived to us, well, except for the last 100 years, but what arrived to us, it's an evolution, a very slow evolution of performing and giving perfection to a lot of solutions, windows, doors, insulation, shady elements, etc. So this evolution has broken 100 years ago thanks to the air conditioning. The air conditioning creates creates a situation where it was not important to improve comfort using architecture. You can use just a machine with a button and okay, on, off, 21, 25, and the machine works on this direction. So it was not important. We lost the connection with the weather on one hand, but also with this vernacular tradition of this slow evolution. But as I said, we are in the 21st century, and if you look at this picture of this classroom close to Paris, you can realize that this is now transformed into a porch with the windows open wide, with a very strong connection with the garden. Of course, it is about comfort because they are feeling good in terms of temperature, breeze, etc. They are in a shady place and they have good views with the garden, etc. So it's about comfort, but it's more than this. The classroom is so high, it's not necessary to have this extra height. So it's about space also. And this idea of transforming the porch into a gallery and the gallery into a porch, it's thanks to the technology. So using these big windows that can be open wide, you can transform the space depending on the conditions of the weather. So we like to use the contemporary tools to improve the conditions in our buildings. And as I said, in Catalonia, we have a long summer, but we still have winter, so we need buildings able to transform depending on the conditions. And if you look more carefully to the people inside the classroom, the kids, they are half naked. And of course, we don't design buildings imagining or imposing to people to get naked into it, but the people, so the role of the people, it's necessary to improve their comfort. So depending on our actions, we can be better inside a room or worse. If we open the window, if we blind the shutters, we can do a lot of things to improve the conditions. So it's not only about sit down and say, okay, I need a shade. So it's about interaction. And in our projects, we are always discussing and putting on the table how the building will work with the owners and with the people that is going to use the building. And this is a graphic that shows, it's a real graphic of a building that we completed 10 years ago, more or less. It's a research center close to Barcelona, and it's easy to understand the graphic. So the black lines, the parallel lines, are, let's say, the mandatory temperatures, which are between 20 degrees and 26 degrees. So there are some parts in the building that needs to be on this range, on this average of temperature. Then the dark blue line that goes up and down is the outdoor temperature. So on winter we are 5 degrees, more or less, not less. And on summer we are, in this case, 10 years ago we were around 35. Today we are usually reaching 40 degrees. So this is the movement of the temperatures. And then there's the red line that you can see that it's always in between the black lines. So this is a line describing the temperatures inside the places of the building that needs to be in the mandatory range, like in this case laboratories, some offices, etc. And then the important line is this one, which is a bit orange, that moves following a bit the outdoor temperature. This line is explaining the temperature of more than the half part of the building without, let's say, mechanical or artificial climate on it, but it's using the outdoor conditions and also the air of the, let's say, more comfortable areas of the building. So this kind of bioclimatic strategies are creating a temperature that it's always a bit better than outside, but on summer it's warm, a bit warm, and on winter it's a bit cold. So if you are on these places that are spaces in between classrooms, etc., halls, etc., you need to wear clothes on winter, and you need to decide if it's better to have a coffee in the ground floor on summer instead of the fourth level, which is warmer on winter, for example. So people in this building are making decisions about this, where they are going to do things on these areas. But as I said, we design buildings and we create a lot of strategies involving different materials, thinking about bioclimatic strategies, defining a lot of things, but finally we are focusing mostly in the people. I mean, creating good places to read, as in this picture, just sitting in front of a window with these shutters that are open, facing the park. So we are always looking for spaces to be where you can be in a very, very good conditions. And I think that another thing that came up to us after our experience is that if these bioclimatical conditions, or if these more less artificial conditions that we are trying to create doing architecture, not using machines, doing architecture, our buildings are our machines, are creating or are recovering the connection with man and nature, but not in a romantic way. So it's beautiful to look at a beautiful landscape with trees and lakes and blah, blah, like in this courier of Alvaralto. It's more about skin, so it's more about feeling again the weather, when it rains, when it's sunny, when it's cloudy, when it's windy. And the building architecture, it's the medium, it's the thing that connects or disconnect, link or unlink the people and the context. So I think that the fire in the middle of the patio of this Morazzalo house explain a situation where Alvaralto is enjoying the cold weather with fire in this squared patio. So I think that we are always trying to create a natural experience thanks to our buildings. You know that the Roman house, this one from Pompeii, it's a tool to collect water. So when it rains, the water came to the middle and then it goes down and probably it's put in a tank or whatever. So it's a tool to collect water, which was important in Italy and in all the Mediterranean area. We don't have a lot of water. But to collect water, you don't need, let's say, these extra height columns. You don't need this ornament. You don't need this language for the capitals. You don't need the painting on the wall. So this is a tool to collect water, but it's more than this. It's a monumental space probably to express the power of the owner or the family of the owner. It's also interesting the connection with the main space in the middle and the different rooms around it or the entrance. So it's much more than a tool to collect water, which was very important in the Roman era. Another thing, and you will realize that we love to deal with materials and the way we use them to build a building. And in a way, this idea of working with bricks or concrete or whatever, it's a way to create a very, very unique and specific language. So we love aesthetics. We try to do everything in the most beautiful way possible. So we don't discuss about that. We discuss about climate strategies, construction, blah, 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 but we are always focusing on aesthetics. And we like to use the process of construction to create aesthetic effects. And in this case, in this basilica in Bologna, they started at the end of the 14th century to build the naves, the 5 naves, the one in the middle and 2 on each side. At a certain moment, they roofed the building and they started adding the marble, probably using the most fashion style at the moment. At a certain moment, they stopped to put the marble on the facade for, I don't know what, for war, for crisis, for, I don't know, they started another church in another place, but they stopped. And it was kept like that for a lot of centuries. And lastly, somebody decided that for its heritage value, it was necessary to protect marble from the rain, etc. And they added this if totally random in different levels just to protect the marble. And this could be the history of this facade. I don't know the real history. And if you go there in Bologna to this main square in the center of the town, you go there and in just 1 second or half second, you have an impact of this aesthetic that is based or is what it is thanks to the history of the building. So it's a 1 second effect, and then of course, if you're interested and if you like the history of the buildings, you can investigate and you will discover the real history. But this idea of how a process can create a very unique language is something that we actually love. And 5 years ago, I went to Vienna for a lecture also, and I was lucky because there were a Basquiat monograph exhibition, and I went there. It was casual because I didn't know so much about the work of Basquiat. But as in the Basilica and as in almost all the buildings, you have these 2 levels of impact thanks to the painting. On the one hand, when you go inside a room, you look at the big painting and you have a wow. A short moment, deep impact of the power of the painting. And if you go more close to the paint, you start trying to understand the history of how was it painted. First the black, then the blue, then he scratch, erasing, adding white, so you can create a history. And for sure, there was a process to create that. I don't know. So for the architects, I think that both moments are interesting. For the people in general, what is important is the first impact, and of course, something that is not on a painting or on a single facade, which is the experience of enjoying a building, which is a very, very long-term experience, well, depending on the situation, but it's not only for 1 second, it's not only about the history, it's mostly about the future. So these 3 timing situations are important for the good design of a building, I guess. And of course, we as architects can do what Basquiat did with his hands. So we can decide where to put blue, pink, first, second, lastly, scratch. So we can make decisions to affect the result. And this is a very good painting from Catalonia, which is Ramon Casas. And this is a terrace on the top level of a typical building of Eixample in Barcelona. At that moment, at the end of the 19th century, there were no architects doing this kind of buildings. There were what we call master of construction, something like that. So, but somebody made decisions about creating this terrace facing the sun of the afternoon with these typical blinds on top, and also the big doors that are connecting and disconnecting the terrace with probably one of the main rooms of the house. So everything was designed to create this good effect and creating a good place to be. And in this case, there was an architect designing this house, which was Ramon Vázquez Molezún in Galicia, in the northwest of Spain. And here everything was designed because it was his own house. So I can imagine how he thought a lot about all the decisions, all the parts of the house. Imagine this terrace facing the sun, facing the ria, facing the landscape, sharing coffee with friends, with family, nice evenings there. So everything planned. But at a certain moment, the daughter of Vázquez Molezún arrives there and decided to transform this ultra-planet terrace into the best place to jump to the water. So I think that it's a good thing to be architect, because you can have a kind of obsession trying to define and design everything, 100% of the things that are in a building, but unexpected things are always an option if you are doing good architecture, good infrastructure where everything could happen, and that's what is happening in this picture. So I will summarize very shortly. I mean, 5 or 6 concepts that are the best tools, and very basic, you will see, to create good conditions using a building. So in the south, you know, in Spain, thermal mass, and in this house it's kind of cave almost, but thermal mass, it's essential to refresh on summer and to keep warm on winter. So thermal mass, it's a necessary tool to create comfort. But also, these spaces in between, this is a gallery from a Champla. Usually the inside the blocks of the Champla, the inner facade, it looks like that. So a space in between, or inside or outside, that are totally seasonal. So it's a place for winter, not for summer. Champla apartments used to have 2 living rooms for summer and for winter, and people move from one season to the other to improve their conditions. So, but this idea of spaces in between are important. The sun is our enemy. So when you don't have a lot of money, what you have to do in Catalonia is to create good architecture against the sun, using, like in this case, a pergola, a vegetable pergola. So on winter, the foliage fall down, and on summer, it's totally dense. So it's a very effective protection, but we need to be protected from the sun. I imagine that in Budapest, it's not necessary to mention the value of insulate the buildings. So in our vernacular tradition, insulation was not the thing. It was about how to protect from the sun, etc. But nowadays, insulation, it's a good thing to keep warm inside, so to don't lose energy. So we need to insulate, and the regulation goes in that way also in Catalonia. The air, it's the most important thing inside the space. So it's necessary to have cross ventilation, and again in Barcelona, the key is to have this cross ventilation during the night. So you need to create spaces that are naturally having this capacity of ventilate during the night, when there's no wind, there's no air. So, for example, playing with the height of the spaces, etc., you can create this chimney effect to ventilate. Yeah, I spoke a lot about, let's say, thermal conditions, comfort, but we are not, well, we are interested on that, but we are interested in the spaces that we are creating, trying to find strategies to improve comfort. But we are interested in spaces, not in the degrees of one space. And this is an important thing. We are not and I'm sorry for the engineers, we are not engineers. We don't want to calculate reaching the best result. We are trying to create the better spaces to live. Another condition is the extra height. So you know that the basilicas are super height, so this creates a natural stratification of air, and the warm air goes up and the fresh is down, so it's a super nice place on summer. If you went to Barcelona, you will realize that on summer it's a good place to be. So this vertical convection, it's a good tool to create this ventilation during the night. And we have a lot of sun, you know it. So how can we use the sun to improve the conditions? It's our enemy, but we can be like a judoka, and we can transform the enemy into the main element improving the comfort. And as I said before, this is what we want, create good places to live. So I start now with our works. So yeah, new tradition, as I mentioned it, well, it sounds like an ultra-right party, but it is not. So it's about a reinterpretation of the tradition. So we don't love the past. We think only about the future, but we love to understand, to inherit the knowledge of the past. So I will start with this very simple house close to Barcelona, in the other side of Tibidabo mountain, in Sant Cugat, where we studied, where a very good school of architecture is located in Sant Cugat. So it was a house for art collectors. So, and they bought this plot to have a very good connection with the garden. So the started point of this commission was a contradiction, because they wanted a house with walls to hang the canvas, but they wanted a good connection with the garden. And finally, the design is so basic. So it's about 3 boxes made on brick, and then 2 spaces in between, like galleries, connecting the 3 boxes. But we used, in this case, brick. Brick is a tradition, not of vernacular, but the tradition of the last centuries in Catalonia, in Barcelona. We have a lot of factories doing brick, because we have a good soil to do so. In this case, it was a double layer lot bearing wall. As I said in the beginning, and it's the case of this house. For example, we love to use structure as a way to create specific spaces. So all of our spaces are totally linked with the typology of the structure. And in this case, these load-bearing walls made on brick are creating the spaces. We design, during the design process, we try to define everything with a lot of details, but in this case, we change the lintel of the windows thanks to the worker that we imagine to use a specific piece full of concrete with steel bars inside, but the worker said, oh, it is not necessary. We can use the same brick, just adding a layer of steel bars on each joint, 3 levels or 5, depending on the size of the window, and it's enough. And we did some tests, and we changed, and we did all the house using the same brick also for the lintels. And this is the plan, so it's very basic. The kids box on the right, the parents on the left, and the kitchen, a double space room in the middle, connected with these 2 galleries that can be open wide as the owners wish, connecting the garden from north to south, from south to north. So it's very basic, and this is the house while it was completed, and this is the house after 5 years of vegetation. Also gives a kind of impact in terms of aesthetics. So it improves the architecture, and this is this space that connects the garden. So it's a space where the facades are going inside. So it's a space in between that it's a porch on summer or spring and a gallery on winter. As I said, I can explain the space just talking about comfort, but for us it's more important the atmosphere, and atmosphere includes the material, the facades, the size, the depth, everything. And this is a kind of drawing that we did for a monograph for Croquis 4 or 5 years ago, trying to describe, of course, let's say the thermodynamic strategies, cross ventilation, sun, winter, summer, etc. But we added everything, the material, the details, and of course the people that are living there. So we tried to summarize our approach in this kind of drawings. But in this case, it's a more recent house in Barcelona. So I share this house because it's based also on brick construction, but it's an evolution. It's not about load-bearing walls. Well, a kind of load-bearing walls, but reduced as a cross columns, you will see, like that. So the same brick, creating big gaps on every wall, so it's more like a column. And the space, thanks to this strategy of transforming the wall into this cross column. So it's not about tradition, it's about an evolution of the more typical system. And after finished, this is the space that has nothing. So it's totally different from the first house, using the same element, but working in another way. Okay. The second thing that I want to share is the idea, and I said something about that, how a building can perform the conditions in a natural way. And in this case, the building is totally a machine to renovate the air. So this in Barcelona. It is a building for a classroom for adults, so it's an adult school. So it's full of classrooms. And we took the risk designing a building that is a machine that renovates the air 11 times per hour, which is the maximum in terms of regulation, and using the sun, let's say the enemy, to make this machine works. And the system is very basic. In this case, we had a heritage facade, so a lot of protection for this facade of a former factory of glass. Only the facade, the rest was demolished. And the plot was just the final piece of a super big factory located in Les Corts neighborhood, where the Barça stadium is located, so close. So it's a triangular plot, very strange, where we have a facade. And the facade is made on brick and stone, and we decided to use the facade as a structural element, and we continue with the same structural concept for the rest of the building. So we create these load-bearing walls again, and we organize the building in a very simple way. On the southeast, we create a greenhouse between the old facade and the new one, just a tool to improve the conditions of the air. Then in the largest part of the triangle, we put the classrooms. Then there is a thick wall where the pipes are connecting each classroom to the chimneys, you will see later, the corridor, staircase, etc., and the smallest parts like offices, etc., in the smaller part of the triangle. And then the entrance is another greenhouse, but it's not a tool to improve conditions, not much. It's more a way to get inside this building. And this is a classroom. Each classroom have a lot of surface. You can see on the ceiling where the structure has a lot of surface, and it's made on concrete. So we put the bovedillas, the bolts, not in the typical way, in the other to have more surface to interchange, to interact with the air, refreshing more. Then the load-bearing walls. Then there's a water piping system in the pavement, mostly for winter, to get the classrooms warm, but also a small tool to refresh a bit the concrete pavement in summer. And then on the left, the big gap, the window facing the greenhouse between both facades, the old and the new, and then a small gap on the right that connects the classroom with the chimneys. So these two gaps, window and the black one, are creating the cross ventilation. And then coming from the basement, the underground, the air is moved to the gallery, the greenhouse, and then crosses each classroom. And the air is moved for stratification, but not only for that, just for the difference of temperature. So in the chimneys, we are reaching 80, 90 degrees, so it's super high. So this difference of temperature creates the movement of the air. And what is most important in Barcelona, because at a certain moment in summer, the air outside is not so good, but in this case, we were always using the air. But during the night, where there is no breeze, or we have a slow breeze, and we don't need to renovate the air 11 times per hour, just 1 time per hour, making the air touching the surface for a longer time. So we use a Venturi effect. You will see on the pictures a very basic chimney, industrial chimney, to create the Venturi effect to reinforce to increase the speed of the air, and it works so well. So on the right, on winter, everything is closed. We just open the chimneys to renovate the air when there's a lot of people for a long time in a classroom. Otherwise, it's always closed. And on summer, is the opposite. We are always having ventilation during the day, but also during the night. And we work with engineers because we don't have the knowledge and the software to create these simulations, and we are always discussing with engineers or architects specialized on that. But all the decisions about the building are on our table. So they create graphics, they create analysis, they create these simulations, but the shape of these chimneys are designed by us. And the pyramid, this asymmetrical pyramid, different for each chimney, is based on reduce the shade that all the chimneys are creating to the others. So again, something that can be explained, rationally explained, creates an aesthetic effect, and we love that improving the design, we are creating a language in a way. And well, I explained it how it works. It's very simple. So the air is not crossing the pyramid, it's just crossing an air chamber between the transparent one outside and a more inner one, which is a textile membrane black one, to increase the temperature. So the air is coming from the classroom, crossing the pipe, arrives here, and then it moves, crossing this air chamber, and then it gets out for the chimney. But again, of course, it's a machine and blah, blah, but the important thing is the people, the proportions of the space, the inner facades, the relation from the inside to this greenhouse, etc. And these are the 4 chimneys, a different pyramid for each chimney, the pre-existing facade and the addition that we did. We blinded some windows where we don't want windows. We respect the heritage value of this building and all of the buildings that we deal with, but it's not essential for us, so we are not so respectful on it. For us, a pre-existing is a tool to support, to create, again, a very specific language and to give a very specific character, personality to this new but old building. So we manage the heritage in that way. How can we use it, and how can we keep with the spirit or the personality of of the pre-existing building. This is the entrance where everything is almost new. You can see these black dots on the facade that are lighting the inside. And it's not light, it's just a massive glass brick, beautiful one, very expensive from Italy. And we use it for, in a way, to make a kind of homage to the past of this former glass factory. So sometimes we are sensible, but not always. This is the classroom facing the inner part of the doll facade. You can see the surface, the extra surface of the roof. This is the greenhouse, so it's not a place to be. It's just a space to improve the air conditions. And these are the chimneys lost in the city. This idea of absolute space, well, it's about monumentality, but it's about the idea of how can a lot of things come into one space. And this is a winery in the south, very specific area, a wine region in the south of Catalonia called Priorat. Strong wines are made there thanks to the soil. So our winery is in the middle of the city, just close to the village, just close to the church. The project is very simple, so we put this tool to improve the conditions to create wine with these tanks. So this is the main space, or almost the only space, and then there is a kind of path between the party walls, pre-existing walls, and this perfect box to create wine. Using the principles that I mentioned before, on the one hand, we use the basilica way of doing things, so the extra height, stratificating the air, coming when it gets warm, it goes up. And we perform here a very sophisticated, well, it's not super sophisticated, but it is. This very thick facade made on 7 layers of brick on the south, where it's warmer, and 4 layers of brick and air chambers in the north. So, as I said, we work with the engineers, creating the simulations to understand how can this work. And the thing is that the air goes up, crossing these chambers, and then at that moment, so here there is a drawing of the cross ventilation for the night, but at that moment when, sorry, no, I go back to that. No, I will explain you later the sophistication of the system. This is the more conventional functionality. So we design a tool moving the air in a sophisticated way, but it can also work using the typical cross ventilation and stratification thanks to the height, like this. So this is the night-summer function, but for the air it works like that. So inside the main hall, the air goes up when the temperature is reaching. It goes up, and when it touches the ceiling, the roof is multi-membrane layers of perforated bricks. You will see later. And the air, when it arrives on top, it starts moving to both sides, left and right, and goes down, crossing the air chamber. So this movement, this process, refreshes the air. And it arrives on the ground floor in a good temperature, and the cycle starts again. So this never-ending story is what is happening here in this space. Again, all these elements, the 7 layers of walls, you will see the system on the roof, and also how it works outside the roof, which is more sophisticated. It's a tool, but it's a specific space with quality, this absolute space that I mentioned. And here on top, there is a kind of invention, because the roof is super thin. It's just 2 layers of ceramic tiles. So this gap, so it's very, very thin. And on top, there's water. So during the day, the water is touching the tiles, so the air that goes up is touching the ceramic that is refreshed for the water. So it's more refreshed and then it goes down. And this system, at night, the water goes up, pumping with a mechanical system, of course. We pump the water and it goes up, and then during the night, it doesn't matter the temperature, it's losing degrees thanks to I don't know the name in English. Well, but everybody during the night is losing temperature. It doesn't matter where you are, because the universe is sucking your degrees. So that's what is happening here with the water. And in this case, we use the brick in a very sophisticated way. So we prefabricated beams using brick to do this, all this ceiling, you will see later. So we put this kind of bricks with 3 gaps. It's a structural brick, it's a load-bearing brick. So we put them vertical with the steel bars inside, and we put it concrete. This is the moment, so we fill with concrete inside the gaps, and then at a certain moment they can start working as a beam. So we did that in a factory, and then a lot of beams arrived on site, ready to start working as a beam. So you can see here the beams filled with concrete and the steel bars, and then supporting the bricks that are creating the different layers on the roof. In this case, the bricks are not horizontal, are vertical, so the gaps are creating this ventilation effect through the gaps. This is the layers of walls that are touching the south facade. We did 80 plans like this one, describing all the bricks, the different cuts of the bricks. You can see here the white ones are the original size, the orange are a cut brick, and the yellow too. So we did this drawing for all the layers of the building, 80 times, I mean. This is the construction. You can see the difference between north and south wall. And on top, this pool of 10 centimeters of water. Again, it's not a place to be, it's a secret, it's a hidden part, but it performs the behavior of the building. And this is the entrance to this kind of inner street. A moment where you can see the tanks of where the wine is done. This is a semi-outdoor space, just roofed, but totally open. Some views to the landscape. This is the street. Again, there are some parts that are original stone walls, but we added new layers, of course. And this is the winery itself, where the tanks are located. You know that it was not necessary. So every tank can create wine, having they have a machine to improve the temperature, so they don't need good conditions outside the tank. But of course, it's not the same to create wine in this tank at 35 degrees instead of doing it at 21 degrees. So nobody asked us for that, but we decided to improve the conditions of this big hall to reduce the artificial system for the temperature of the wine. And again, these are the beams on top with this multi-layered kind of walls where the air goes up and then crosses, touching the roof and gets down for the air chamber. So it's a tool, but it's more than this. It's a space, a very special place to be. And of course, a good place to do good wine. And outside, this is the entrance for machines, etc. This is a house. recently, I mean, the last 10 years, we love also to not only to look at vernacular, but also to look at the whole history of architecture in terms of archetypes. So we love cloisters, we love churches, we love all these kind of archetypes. And in this case, this is a house, big house in Barcelona, in Sarrià neighborhood, in this place. So it's a kind of city inside a city. We have pre-existing facade with a kind of heritage protection for the door and some windows, but not for the rest. The house is a party wall plot. And we started like that. So, okay, in this geometrically messy plot, we have inner facade, we have a street facade, but we have a lot of depth in between. So we decided to create a big gap, a big hall, a big atrium in the middle, organizing the rest of the house. So we put this atrio inspired on Pompeian house, you will see, and it's evident. And then we started doing a second level of rooms, which are bedrooms, kitchen, etc., connected, crossing this black element. So we understood the house as a original concrete stone, and we started excavating on it the atrium, the rooms, etc., and also the third level of spaces, bathrooms, toilets, staircase, etc., that are painted on gray. So trying to create, depending on the range of the space, trying to create order into this messy, geometrically speaking, plot. So finally, and of course the atrium, it's a way to have cross ventilation for all the pieces of the house. But then you can recognize the atrium in the middle with the 4 columns. The atrium, it's a cloister on the first and the second floor, you will see later. And then the kitchen connecting this atrium with the garden, a room, and then the third layer of spaces, the staircase, toilets, etc., that are a bit hidden, excavated inside this massive concrete wall. And this is the plan with the garden. So it's very messy, but it has a hierarchy. For this house, the challenge was to use massive concrete, just putting steel bars in the columns, of course, but for the rest of the house, it's like a stone. And we did some tests with zero special concrete, just doing it in different plants around Barcelona, close to the place. And on every mock-up, we tried to polish the concrete, because all the excavated spaces, toilets and bathrooms, are polished, you will see. This is the process. So the process, it was based on the rammed earth process, so layer by layer. And it was not a problem for us, just the opposite, to create this surface with gravel and gaps, improving a bit the acoustics of this super high space in the middle, but creating a lot of personality, because it's 100% concrete, but it creates a very special effect in terms of matter. This is the section, so you can see here the atrium and the main rooms around the atrium, and then small pieces that are kind of excavated. Of course, they are not excavated. We did formwork for all the pieces, and this is how does it works. So stratification again, thermal mass. We have a piping water system in all the pavements, and then we have a window on top. And this is the ground floor with the 4 columns and this very special massive concrete. The kitchen that are between the atrium and the garden. And this is the inner facade. These roller blinds are the typical from our Mediterranean coast. All the slabs were done by wood. This is the atrium with the cloister in the top floors, the stair. So, as I said, it's a tool to improve conditions, but it's more about the real atmosphere of this place. And you can see the polished concrete in this shower. And the facade with the existing parts, the one with heritage protection, and then our added level, and etc. And this is the final part, just a row of 3 projects that are very connected in terms of let's say the construction system. So this is a house in the north of Catalonia, in L'Empordà, a very beautiful area, beautiful landscape between Girona and Costa Brava, the seaside. So it's a middle-aged village. You can recognize the shape of the middle-aged center, which is totally protected in terms of heritage. So there is a very restrictive regulation of aesthetics. Our plot is not in this center, it's just around it, but we were affected also with this ultra protection facade look. So we started, in this plot we have an amazing stone wall just to protect some vegetable gardens that were inside, we supposed. So we have a beautiful wall around our plot, but we had to demolish it because the urban plan wants to enlarge the size of the street. So it's a strange decision, because it's in the end of the village. But we need to demolish the wall, but we were totally obligated to do the same wall, in theory, for the new shape of the plot. And at that moment, the problem, what started as a problem, how can we do this new old stone wall, creating something contemporary, because we are in a contemporary moment. So what started as a problem, it becomes the more special thing in this project. So we have a big amount of stones. We don't want to repeat, well, we don't have the knowledge to do the stone walls as they did, I don't know, three centuries ago. So we don't have the knowledge, we don't have the workers, and we don't want to do it. So we decided to use a cyclopean concrete wall, using lime instead of cement, and mixing, on the one hand, sand of the plot, gravel as a typical concrete, as I said, lime instead of cement, and then, and then we put it also insulation with made on glass with air inside, or cyclated glass with air inside. So we put it we mixed all of that, and we put the stones inside also in different ways. So this is the cyclopean concrete wall that we did. So this is the process. So we demolished the wall, and again, using the rammed earth technique, layer by layer, 20 centimeters per layer, we were pouring concrete and then putting stone by stone on every layer, and then concrete, stone, etc. And we started with more stones on the bottom, connected to the foundation, which was a rock, and less stones on top, where the concrete slab were located. And finally, after taking out the formwork, we bash hammered the facade to recover again the stone. And we used 3 different kind of walls. On the one hand, the facade, the gray one, it was like that. So we put all the stones only touching the street. Then we have the division walls, structural load-bearing walls, but inside, separating inner spaces. So we put a lot of stones there to reduce the amount of concrete. And then we have several porches in the house. So inside and outside. And we don't put stones there to increase the insulation. So it's concrete with more insulation inside, so we had better insulation in there. So this is a drawing that we did to convince the heritage architects. So this is on top, the original wall, on the bottom, the house. So the house is the wall. We had to do a wall, so we did a house doing a wall with just a few gaps. This is the north facade in L'Empordà, in this area. There's a strong wind coming from the north, so the wall protects the house from this strong wind. And as I said, the house is a wall, so totally open to the garden. The garden is facing the south, it's facing the landscape. It's in high part of the village, so it was perfect. There were a lot of good conditions to open the house to this side. And then, well, this is the common areas, living room, kitchen, etc. There's a porch, and then there is an enfilade of rooms, all of them connected. You have to cross one room to go to the second one and to the third. So it's radical in terms of how people live there. Otherwise, you can cross the garden and you will not cross the rooms. But so it's radical, but we explained this situation to the owners, and they like it, and they live there for 6 or 7 years, and they are happy. So they understood how to live with these conditions. This is the construction process. So for the project, we imagined that we would do the first layer totally, the second layer, but finally the constructor proposed us to do a single part from bottom to top, and then not layer by layer, but started here and then, but with these 2 centimeters stratification. And it was like that, so it was a super craft work. This is the facade wall. You can imagine this is the final situation when we wash hammered the concrete. Lime concrete, it's easy to demolish a bit, so it's less strong than cement concrete. And this is the final result. So again, the process in this case of demolishing the surface was kept with this frame of the window. So again, so if you are an architect, you can understand what happened there. If you are, let's say, a normal person, it's not necessary. You just see, like in the vernacular architecture, a window framed with a more solid element. And inside, as I said, is the opposite. So again, all the spaces are the structural spaces. So everything is working to support the roof. And in this case, it's very basic, the strategy. So we have cross ventilation, just having a single gap on the north facade and this big open. We protect from the sun with this very basic if. On summer, it's kept out, and on winter, it goes through the whole house. And it worked perfectly. So doing a kind of an evolution of, this is a house close to this, to the first one. In this case, the difference is that here we have a kind of ruin of a country house, a typical country house of Catalonia called Masia, but it was a ruin. Just the north facade, thanks to these buttresses, were still there, and the east facade, the rest was almost demolished. The house was like that in the beginning, so we have some ruins here, but we have again a big amount of stones of the parts of the house that fell down. And in this case, we have a double process. On the one hand, the amount of stones, and then the original walls. For the amount of stones, we proceeded like in the Willestret house. And for the original walls, we just added a structural layer to reinforce the original facade. And the final result is that we have facades made on stone outside and facades with stones based on this thick open concrete. This is the original state. And this is the construction. Almost everything was new, actually. But again, it's the same process. So we did layer by layer the concrete wall. But in this case, we had extra height inside you will see the kitchen, it's super height. And we need to reinforce concrete. So this is not lime concrete, it's cement concrete, the typical one, in gray color, in brown color. And we work like that. So we put steel bars inside, we had some ruins, some walls pre-existing there, and then the new ones. Again, you can understand the process of the design and the construction of the house. On black, the original, on red, the addition. But it's not important for us, this idea of history. It's more about the final building. So, of course, old walls and new ones are creating different effects inside, different atmospheres, but they are, let's say, playing together, creating a totally new house. This is the kitchen you will see later with this big porch. And this is the difference between this house and the other. So we have some pre-existences here. Some buttresses. This is almost totally new facade, except the buttress, and this duality and this tension and this relation between new and old, creating new gaps, new windows on the east facade. And inside it's the same. We had few original walls inside, but they are giving very special moments there. And this is the kitchen with this extra height. That's why we need to reinforce the walls. And again, the project can be explained in terms of how the building performs, in terms of comfort, again, based on massive thermal mass, cross ventilation. We take advantage of this air chamber between the rock of the soil and the concrete slab. We cross the air, and then it goes up to the first floor, which is more warm than the ground. And this is the special situation here. As I said, it happens in 2 or 3 spaces of the house. And this is the last project, which is again an evolution of how to deal with not greens. In this case, it was with the material that came from a demolition. So in this case, this is in Palma de Mallorca, in the island, Balearic Island. And it was a competition that we won, not designing a proposal, but writing a text. So because they were asking about the strategy to create 25 apartments for elder people, and the challenge was, on the one hand, they wanted to build it very fast, and they were expecting for a wooden system, CLT, which is not the tradition in the island, of course, but they wanted a very fast construction, but they asked also about, so it was mandatory to demolish this building, a former school, abandoned in a very bad state, out of regulation also in terms of volume. So they asked if there's a way to reuse this material, but it was a very small question. And in this text that we wrote, we propose, on the one hand, not to use timber structure, because it's not the tradition of the site, and it doesn't work well in terms of comfort. We need mass, we need thermal mass. And our proposal was, as an evolution of these 2 houses that I explained it before, to demolish the building. It was mandatory. But at the same moment, during the demolition, which is a different project of the construction, let's say, during this moment, prefabricating big blocks of concrete, putting the ruins inside. We were expecting ceramic, concrete, etc., to put inside the ruins. And this is a drawing of this text. We did this drawing and also this one. So starting with the timber structure and evolving with this very thick wall structure, reducing each wall on every level because we have less loads in the top floor compared with the ground floor, so reducing the size of the blocks, and this was the scheme. And for the demolition project, we designed a single formwork that can be reused for every brick. So we designed a process based on that. So we imagined to create every single block with its framework that can be reused for a second block, for the second brick, pouring the ruins inside, concrete, ceramic, etc. And we designed also some strategies trying to imagine how we can use a crane to move these very, very heavy blocks. But it happened that during the demolition, we discovered that the load-bearing walls of this school were done with marés. Marés is the sandstone typical of Mallorca. Woods on houses were done using this material. It's a stone that can be easily cut with a saw, very easy. So it's a light stone. So at that moment we started thinking about, it was a pity to hide this amazing material inside these concrete blocks, these concrete bricks. So we had this big amount of marés and other materials. You can see concrete also, but we had a lot of marés. And we started doing the first mock-ups of these single precasted bricks. But discussing one Friday in the office, somebody said that why, instead of doing a single brick, why can we do a bigger slab, like a pool, 4x4, and then using a big disc, cutting the different bricks. And with this idea of cutting, the stone will be cut and will become part of the surface. So, and we use the first test that we did, and we cutted them. You can see the disc in this picture, and of course the stones appeared. So, and there was no way out. So, no, I mean, it was not a good solution for, let's say, personal comfort, because this is part of the demolition project. So the project was assigned to a demolition company. They have a cost, a budget, a closed budget, to do what the project described, which was this single formwork, blah, blah, blah. And of course, it doesn't matter if this process is cheaper, because the constructor, when they are in process of constructing, they can put the price that they want, more or less. So what can be cheaper becomes the most expensive solution in the world. So, but as I said, there were no way. We want to do that because it was better for sure. So we started rethinking and doing a lot of tests, trying to find the best process to have the best price. And this is the process that I described. So we demolish the building. We have amount of concrete ceramic that goes in another way, just for reduce the concrete of the foundations. And you will see the walls of the semi-underground level. And then the rest, I mean, marés, were reused for this invention of precasting big bricks of concrete. So again, it was a 42 centimeters height concrete slab. 42 was the maximum size that can be cut with this disc. So we changed the project to adapt to this new size. And we put one layer of concrete and then the stones, but in a very massive way. So the workers were demolishing workers. So everything must be very basic. And this was the process. So one layer of concrete, and then stones, and then concrete, and then take out the formwork, and then cutting in pieces. Easy to say, difficult to achieve. But, and these are different moments of the process. We started doing bigger concrete slabs cutting in 2 or 3 pieces, but we discarded this option. And finally, these 4x4 slabs were done. For the first tests, we did a specific formwork. For the rest, we create steel formworks that can be reused. So we had, I think, that 4 or 5 formworks like this, and we were reusing them for this row of production that you will see later. So, and this is the final process when we find a solution after several months. So it was not fast, also for the cost discussion, but it was not a problem. We started doing it in a kind of row process. So very efficient in terms of time and real cost. So we have the formwork, the last pool that we did, another that was on another day, and here you can see the cutting process using this big disc. As I said, the process was very basic at the end, not in the beginning. So we find a good way to do the blocks, and this is so this was the blocks that we had made on lime concrete. So lime concrete means that the resistance, the load-bearing capacity is lower than lower means 40 or 30% compared with cement concrete. It's more healthy in terms of CO2 emissions because lime is better than cement, but we have less resistance. But the material was amazing, so we have the Mares stones inside, you will see. We also use gravel coming from the Mares quarries. So there is gravel made on Mares inside. So finally, 35–40% of the volume is Mares stone. And also, we used to do so we have a structural walls, you will see later, and then we have perpendicular walls just to, I don't know the name in English, but it's to, how can I say? So we have the main direction, and then the perpendicular is avoiding the movement of the load-bearing walls. So we use this big brick divided into 4 using the typical saw that was used for Mares to create these thinner bricks. This is the amount of different pieces, so a lot of them, but I don't know, there are some pieces that have, I don't know, 400 units, and there are some pieces that are, I don't know, 4 units. So we have all the catalog. Mostly, I think that we did 3,000 big bricks, and we create 1,000 more cutting the third part of them. And this is the result. So the sign of the cutting process is kept on this amazing material, this cyclopean lime concrete brick. And this is the section of this building. We have very deep foundations, massive, where we put it, the rest of material, ceramic, concrete inside. And then level after level, the thickness of the wall is reduced. And also the slabs are done with CLT, with timber. Finally, also the construction process was very fast for the extractor. Then in Mallorca, everything goes slowly, so it's an island and time in the island is different. This is a plan. Again, this is the walls that I mentioned. So the main walls, load-bearing walls, and then the perpendicular ones that are supporting like buttresses, the rest. So the plan is the result of this big blocks strategy. And this is the different types of blocks located in the building. You can see that in the semi-underground, we use concrete, typical massive concrete, again with just reducing the steel bars, but it's massive concrete. And then in the ground floor from top, it's these new blocks. I must tell you that finally, when we find a solution for the blocks, again, the cost issue appears, and then they asked for more money. Okay, we have the solution, but it's more expensive. And we didn't have time to think a lot. And we did one test using cement instead of lime concrete. And that's why the concrete with cement came from a plant. So it was an industrial production, less expensive, of course, and with more resistance. And this was the key to work like that. So after one day, so the resistance, the load-bearing capacity of the block was reaching 15 newtons. Imagine that lime concrete was reaching 7, 8 after 2 months. And the thing is that during the life of this lime concrete, the resistance will increase, but very slow. But what we did when we had to change, and we did with cement, after 1 day of pouring concrete, we can put one hang in the brick, and then we can hang it up with the crane. This was the key point to create a very, very efficient and very fast system. On the production side, that was not the plot, and also during the construction. So we did all this building with 2 workers, 3, the craneman and 2 workers like this one. And the beautiful thing is that what they used the typical Marais stone masonry wall, the traditional one, for this, let's say, new brick. So they use these wooden elements to make the blocks more horizontal. So depending on how you push it inside the wall, you can move less or more the block. So it's the same system that traditionally was used for the Marais block masonry. So this is the final result. So it's very special. This is the cement blocks with a lot of resistance during the construction with timber slabs. We have 3 levels on the street, 5 inside. And the structural system is also the distribution of the building. This during the construction, you can realize that the thickness of each wall is reduced on every level. And then we have a chamfer, which is something very weird, but it was mandatory for the urban regulation. And again, how does it work in terms of how to perform the comfort using the thermal mass of the blocks, cross ventilation for all the apartments, etc. And this is after the completion of the work using these traditional roller blinds. And in this facade, which is a party wall that will never be covered, you can see, well, it's not easy, but you can see a bit the difference between the lime concrete bricks on top and the others that are made on cement, that are a bit grayer than the ones on top. All the apartments are almost all of them similar. We have 3 typologies, but we have the main one, which is this one. And they are very basic. And then at a certain moment, a very good architect from London, 6A, came to visit the building, and we were explained that, yeah, it's a repetition of the same apartment, the same typology several times, so every apartment is the same. And he said, you are wrong. So each apartment is different because every brick is different. So using this system, you are creating a way to make differences doing the same distribution, and it's true. So there is no stone, no brick similar than the other. in the chamber, on the chamber, there are two apartments that are a bit different with 2 rooms instead of 1. And this is the lime concrete apartments on top. This was the first test that we did. So they were putting stone by stone with a lot of precision. At a certain moment, it was very messy, and it's better. Well, it happens that they spent all the stones when we were at the half. So we have to do the double of the bricks. But Ibabi, the social housing developer in the island, had another demolition, so we took out. Yeah, it makes sense. But yeah, it's beautiful, it's different, the lime concrete stones. And in the semi-underground, because it's a lower level than the street, we started using massive concrete. And also the first slab is made on concrete, because they were working as a retaining wall facing the street, so we need to reinforce with matrices that are these concrete walls. So again, it's different. It's not as special as the others, but it's okay. They have the garden in this level. And this is the wall that makes the difference for every apartment. And I'm almost done, but at a certain moment, Balint asked me about our method, but it's very fast. It's just more about curiosity instead of interest. But yeah, we don't. When we started 25 years ago, we didn't spend time discussing about how do we have to work. We had commissions, and we started developing, designing buildings, constructing buildings. This was our method, but we've been working in this place for 25 years. A single table, a single space, so everything is shared there. Of course, everybody's working in different projects, but it's the same space, so you can follow discussions. You have to be concentrated, but you can follow discussions. Yeah. It's a way to share also. Not now, because I think that we improved the way of doing competitions, but at a certain moment we spent all the last night competitions in the office. So, and this is a daily situation in our office. So on the left, Josep, one of the partners, discussing with Mary about one project, Roger, another partner, discussing with I don't know who about another project, and I am discussing with 2 architects about another project. So we are, I mean, the partners, we are inside the projects. We are not teaching in the office. We are designing, and we are discussing, and we are always trying to find the best solution. It doesn't matter who finds the solution. Again, Roger discussing with Montse. Montse has been working with us, the one on the right, for 20 years. So it's Josep discussing and drawing, and again. And then the 4th partner is David. David, it's architect. He started leading projects for 3 or 4 years, but at a certain moment he said, I would like to manage the office. I don't feel comfortable designing, visiting the construction. I prefer to deal with the office issues. I mean, fees, well, all the boring things about architecture are, in our case, in David, which is super good for the rest. So we have always an Excel file on the screen. He's in the corner, facing everybody, controlling. Now it's good. And then in this office we had, on top, following this strange staircase, we didn't design it. We have a meeting room where sometimes the partners share together and discuss, but it's not usual. We usually discuss when we have dinner, when we have lunch, dinner at home. But this year we moved to another office because we were 25 people in a 100 square meters space. Okay, because it's cheaper, but we have some oxygen issues. And changing climate, it doesn't help. So what we did is to move the same table, single one, in this new place, bigger. You can see we added 4 places to have 4 computers more. Now we have 22. The partners, except David, the others don't have a place to work. We work always like nomads, walking through the office. And the change is that now we have a lot of empty space where we are developing the same models that we usually did in the other office. But in the other office, when you do one model, the second one don't have space. So we need to discuss the leaders about which is the most important model now. And after 6 months working there, every model has a table, and if you have to do a new model, you can create a new table because there's a space. We will see next year. Perhaps we can start having some problems on that, but now we love to do these big models. We started doing that for the clients to explain the projects, mainly for particular houses, private houses. But now it's a tool to improve the project, but also to create a frame to discuss. So it's more easy to discuss. So facing a screen, 1, 2, 3 people can discuss. Around a model, well, a lot of them. And here we have 2 meeting room spaces like this one. The place is amazing, because it's in the first floor, but it's an industrial space. It's a very strange. We have an entrance to receive the people, so it's good. And this is during the last 5 years, because as I said, we started designing buildings without method. The discussions came in a casual way. So around a model or around a moment in a screen. But at a certain moment, people in the office asked us to have a free afternoon on Fridays. And we are obsession in the method, we are obsession in how to improve the frame to create better projects. And we said, okay, nobody has to work on Friday afternoon. So the weekend starts on Friday afternoon. But every Friday we select 2 projects or 2 buildings under construction. And in this case, as you are doing at school, so we hang the plans, the pictures, the models, and the people involved, because as you can imagine, not everybody is working in all the projects. So we try to be efficient. We are not efficient, but because we spend a lot of hours on every project, but the partners, except David, Roger, Josep, and I, we lead all the projects, and then we have other architects working for the project. So for one house, I don't know, perhaps there's one partner and another architect. For a library, like the model that is behind Josep, I don't know, now we are completing the project, so there are 8 people working on that. So we select 2 projects, and the people that are working in these projects have to be in the office on Friday afternoon. And then we discuss without screen. A screen is a very good tool, but it creates a kind of limit, so it's not good for everything. So we frame everything there, and we discuss, and we chat, and we comment, and in these Friday discussions is where the solution of cutting the concrete stones bricks of Mallorca happened. So, and it was not one of the partners who said the option. So we don't have this kind of ego. We want the best solution. And of course, not only in the office, also during the construction. So our process, our design process includes for sure the construction. So again, we are always ready to find the best solution. And if the best solution appears during the construction, we are ready, not David, because he's always having the numbers, but the rest are ready to change the project and to transform a solution into another. That means probably more money for us, but more time, some tricky situations, but architecture is first in our office, so all the effort goes in this direction. So we work hard. La bona vida in Catalan means good life. We like good life. Huh? We like to work. To work is a good life for us, but what we do twice per year, Christmas and summer holiday, is so all the office, everybody, goes to visit the different buildings that we have under construction or we have completed, and we try to enjoy and to share what the office is producing, and it's a very special day. We spend the whole day. On Christmas shorter, but with more evening, more night, not a problem. And on summer, yeah, the day is so long. So in this case, we went to Llastret to visit the house, and the owners invite us to have lunch. It was amazing. And finally, we went to the pool. I think that we drink some champagne on the pool. As rich people, we are not, well, I think that we are rich in terms of what we feel, but and no, this is the last picture, right? Just to explain that, of course, today I'm here. You know that I don't work alone. What you've seen is the result of a big effort. So I think that during the construction of a building, and I think that you know what I mean, but I think that we give part of our body to do that, because it's, I explained to you the beautiful things around architecture. We suffered a lot, so it's not easy to do the things in the way that we like to do. So everybody's doing a big effort, the clients also, the partners, of course. And what you've seen today is the result of being a team. We are a team and we are architects, so thank you.